All right, today we're going to go a little bit more in depth of how we do our spoons. So, starting off with, when we think of our spoons, they come in all different shapes and sizes. Some are tiny, but you just kind of lose without even knowing that it's going to happen. And some are big fatties that definitely feel the weight when they leave. And they all have different levels of ability, energy, clarity, and it's kind of a lot to work with when you're somebody who lives with a chronic illness. And I really struggled when I first started out with the spoonie life. And I was looking and searching for some sort of opportunity to work through what it is to live chronically ill. Like the doctors, say, work out or yoga or sleep or take all these medications, take all these supplements, but no one tells you really how to do life. And they're like, oh, well, planners are a game changer and journaling and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of the things that I found were more geared towards for your practitioners than they were for you. And they didn't seem to really think of me or you in terms of what my real ability was, because they'd have you filling in all these little tiny things and it would just get overcomplicated and you get so overwhelmed and you're just like, put the brakes on this. Just pump the brakes a few times, please. So that is when this little nugget was born in my brain through a lot of prayer and searching and reading. I was so excited when I found the spoon theory. It was like, new level unlocked. Like finally I had a word for what I was dealing with. And Christine, I can't think of her name right now, her last name right now, but I'll put a link to her thing in the notes. But her spoon theory is just Miserandino, something like that. I promise, if you're watching this, Christina or Christine, I'm just not great with names, I guess, and sometimes my brain fog is different and difficult. So anyway, when it comes to measuring your spoons, I like what she had to say, but she's treating it like everything was the same, like just like all the same style of spoon. And I think that is probably true for maybe lupus patients, but for me, with my Wilson's, day-to-day, moment-to-moment is very different. I get kind of a grab bag of spoons, so it looks very different to what I can do. So that's why I kept a sliding scale for the scheduling your spoons planner, because I was like, I don't want people to get caught up in like the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, I want them just to think more of like, all of them are different and days are going to feel different. Moments are going to feel different. When you think you have 5 spoons, you may only have really 1. You discover by the time you finish your shower in the morning, you're actually done for the day. There are no more spoons here, and that is okay. But we have to learn how to work with that, right? So in another video, I went through all the little pages, but today we're going to get deeper. So we're going to start off here. And I have rated our spoons and given them kind of a little code name, I guess you could say. So you have 1 spoon days, which is more of a rest and relaxation day or rest and recovery day, but sometimes you can squeeze in a little something. And I do talk about in the intro the elusive and mysterious invisible spoon, those days where you don't have energy to do anything. And I suggest having a list for that, for those days of maybe you binge watch your favorite show or listen to a story or play your favorite game, whatever, or just sleep. And those are okay too. But having a separate list for that may be really good for you. But on rest and relaxation days, what I'm considering to be 1 spoon is like maybe you make a phone call to set up an appointment. Maybe it's catch up with a friend. Maybe it's read a book that uses some brain power, because while physically you can't do a whole lot, mentally you're like alert and ready to do all the things. So just, rating those. And then sometimes it's like a 1 spoon thing. Like sometimes laundry can be that. Sometimes I have no brain power to do anything that's going to really, like this, like where I'm going to have to be communicating a real idea or something. But I can do menial tasks like cleaning the dishes or doing the laundry, something like that. That's like really simple. But then sometimes I have the flip of that where physically I cannot do the dishes. I cannot do the laundry. And those are like much larger spoon days for me. So sometimes the tasks themselves slide around the spoon scale. So that's something else to keep in mind. And then our midpoint is 3 spoons. So like, kind of hard, kind of not hard, in between things. And it's for your more okay days. And then we have our big ends, which is we have 5 spoon day. We are doing great. All the things we are mentally, physically, emotionally ready to handle the day. And those tasks go here. But sometimes we find ourselves in a space where like we have these large tasks that require all those things of us, but we're not getting a day that is 5 spoons, which happens a lot for me, I know, and probably a lot for you. So what I've done is we move right down here and we have the teaspoon bites. And here in the teaspoon bite area is where you would take a 5 spoon task that you have put here and you break it down into smaller, more attainable bites. So say we do laundry, say that's more of like a 4 to 5 spoon thing or even a 3 spoon thing. You would take it down into smaller bites so that it would be a lot more manageable. So maybe one day this week or during one day. So you could either split this up. These are different ways that you could split them up. You could split it up where you do the tasks one a day, one every other day, or if you want to get it all done in one day, you take a lot of rests in between each step. So that would mean your first step for doing laundry would be gathering all your clothes, putting them in the basket. It would be a second task. And then third task would be separating them into, lights, darks, delicates, whatever, however you like to separate your laundry. And then putting the laundry in the wash and then throwing it into the dryer and then folding and then putting away. And you can get as small as you want with these tasks, and you can take as long as breaks as you need to. If it needs to be days between tasks, if it needs to be, a matter of like 15 minutes. I do recommend that as you do each task, no matter where you are on the scale, that you are taking a serious time to rest in between everything, because you need to give your body time to recover from that. And it's actually being proven even within the workspace that is important for your brain to catch up. You need to have like a 15-minute break between each task. So if you do that as like a quote unquote fully healthy person, then I would imagine as somebody who is struggling with a chronic illness, probably at least 15 minutes is what you should be giving yourself, if not twice that amount. I normally try and gauge it between, initially, especially, I would give myself like double the amount of time that I did the work. So for example, when I used to do the unloading the dishwasher, I would only do it part by part of the dishwasher. So I would pull out all the silverware and I would bring over a chair and I'd pull out all the silverware and I'd put them in a drawer. And then I would stop. And then I would go and do the same thing with, like doing the bottom shelf or part of the bottom shelf. And sometimes I would just stack them up on the counter. But each time I stopped, I would go lay down on the couch. I would rest for, sometimes that would take me like 15 minutes to do that. So I'd at least rest for 30 to 45 minutes before I go back to doing it. And I know that sounds crazy, especially if you used to live a life like I did that was not encumbered by my disability and chronic illness. But I promise you, it pays off in dividends if you pace yourself. It is so worth it. So anyways, back to our spoon bites. Now that we have thoroughly thought through our different breakdowns and did all that, you can now go over to here and plan out how you plan on doing that during the week. This is where you would put any of your items that you have over here, over on our auxiliary page, and we pull from there to over to our daily tasks. And from our daily tasks, or daily list, our daily page, you have spoons. You have 5 spoons, and you can rank each day from 1 to 5 how you're feeling. You could rank it right after you get up. It could be right after breakfast. It could be like me, where those spoons kind of change throughout the day of like, how awesome do you feel? So, and sometimes it can be, I have energy to do this, but I don't have energy to do this. And that's okay. We're trying to work within our limitations, but we're also trying to respect our bodies and what they really need. So we aren't working off of, and obviously there's some things that are going to be deadlines, and that's just going to have to be worked out. And that is something where you can turn and ask for help from friends and family, caregivers, to help you accomplish those tasks within a timely manner. But until, but as far as we go, we will just rank our days and just pull from here what we can do for that day and just celebrate those wins. And sometimes you're going to come over to this gratefulness section at the end of the week, and you're going to be like, I'm just glad I was able to do dishes this week. I was glad I was able to make my family one meal, or I was glad that I was able to finish a really good book, and then I had the patience and the focus for that. And those are okay, and that is more than okay. You should celebrate it, because it is pretty wonderful that you were able to do anything. And so, because there definitely were days for me where I wasn't able to do much. And so I'm just that much more grateful anytime I get to even sit and do something like this, because I know there was a time that this would have been an impossibility for me to sit here with little to no support and talk with you in cohesive sentences. Well, I hope they are. I hope they make sense. Comprehensive sentences. So anyway, so you come to over here and you fill in your tasks, and you may have events this week too, but this is a good way of getting to see a bird's eye view of what your week is going to look like, so that you can plan when you need to have rest worked in. Like, say I had a performance to go to for my nephew on Thursday. Well, I would know that the day before I could get some things done, but I probably should back off a little bit from like going full gung-ho. That is not the day to go out and do grocery shopping. And like Wednesday, I would not, go out and do grocery shopping and do all these big spoon depleter things. I would save that for another day. Maybe that would be a Tuesday thing, and maybe a rest on Wednesday. So then when it comes to Thursday, I'd do like maybe a light task, and then I would be hopefully ready for his event. Then it doesn't always pan out that way, but if you do what you can with what you got, right? So this is just a starting space. This is by no means a perfect scale, but this is supposed to start getting you to think outside the box of tasks first, me second, because that's not how God designed us. That's not who he wanted us to be, especially when it comes to our day-to-day lives. He wants to be a part of every part of it. And we can ask for strength from him and draw from and be in communion with him all day. And he isn't ranking us by how much we get done. He doesn't want us to be lazy, but resting isn't laziness, because he even made the Sabbath, and he himself rested on the 7th day. So don't take your rest time as a lazy time. And I know that is so hard, especially that is not what our culture preaches at all, but that is something that your body needs. And like I said before, it's something that even healthy people need. And we should be doing more of a balance throughout your day of working and resting, even if it's just 15 minutes here and there. Or, for some of us, it's definitely in like looking closer to an hour, or maybe we got the one task done and the rest of the day is chill. And that is okay. We need to give what God has given us space to work, and remember that he is in order. He is in control of our time. And if we let him, we can actually take up his burden instead of our own, and he will show us what is necessary to get done for the day. And that's probably one of my favorite things to do, is prayerfully come to him in rest to ask him for what I should do, how I should start my day. And that really guides a lot of my really productive days, and some of my days that I would normally count as not a productive day, I end up giving myself a lot of grace for, because I took it to the cross first. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and remember, you are God's masterpiece, and hopefully you will get our planner and see the beauty in scheduling around your spoons. See you all later.